When the number of mosquitoes reaches a certain scale, they can even suck a wolf cub's blood dry. No matter how the wolf cub struggles to escape, it cannot evade the swarm of mosquitoes. In the Arctic Circle's summer, there is no night, and mosquitoes breed at 5 times the speed in this endless daylight. Thousands of mosquitoes, buzzing like thunder, they tirelessly and relentlessly search for prey. No matter how deeply the wolf cub hides, they can find it, swarm over, and burrow between the fur and skin, draining the blood bit by bit. For the newborn cubs, that buzzing sound is simply an inescapable life and death hunt. That day, after returning from hunting, I saw from afar a dense swarm of mosquitoes swirling in the air outside the cave. I knew this place was no longer suitable for living. I didn't hesitate and immediately decided to leave here with the children. The destination is an old cave 8 kilometers away. The wilderness is vast and the wind sounds mournful. My children are still young. They haven't even been weaned yet, but I have no choice. Only by leaving can I ensure their survival. I raced across the wilderness with a few cubs. After running for 3 kilometers, the weakest cub collapsed. His legs gave out and he plopped down on the ground. He was still too young and ultimately couldn't hold on. But there was nowhere to hide in the desolate wilderness. I looked around and finally found an abandoned cave of a hunter. I gently reassured him, telling him to wait for me there. After settling him down, I immediately turned around and continued on the road with the remaining children. A few hours later, we arrived at the old cave. The air here was much fresher, with fewer mosquitoes, and there was even a faint smell of grass. I thought I could finally relax, but after the children gradually settled down, I didn't realize I had left one behind and went out hunting. Until the wolf mother returned with the pack, standing in front of the empty old den and letting out a long howl. There was no response. It was not blame, it was the heartbreak of a mother losing her child. She sniffed around the area and then turned to leave. She knew we had migrated and knew where to go, but when she arrived at the new nest to reunite with the cubs, she didn't see the smallest one. She didn't say anything, just looked up into the distance, then lowered her head to sniff the ground. The wolf pack is always known for its unity, the disappearance of a child. It's a matter for the entire family. She entrusted the child to the elder she-wolf and set off alone on the search. Meanwhile, the left-behind cub was sitting in the abandoned tower cave, not daring to make a sound, only daring to howl softly once or twice when the sunlight dimmed, as if talking in its sleep. It still couldn't tell directions. I don't know where to go. It can only wait for a mother willing to turn back. The wind in the wilderness can tear everything apart, and the little cub's voice is quickly blown away. But there seems to be some kind of connection between mother and child. On the morning of the 3rd day, the wolf mother suddenly changed course and entered a hidden canyon. She said nothing, just turned around as if summoned by something. At the same moment, the little cub seemed to make up its mind to crawl out of the cave and let out the loudest howl of its life towards the heights of the canyon. The sound hit the cliff and was amplified by the canyon, like an echo of fate piercing through the wind noise and reaching the mother's ears. The wolf mother suddenly raised her head and rushed over. After a few short responses, the two figures finally reunited on the endless wilderness. The little wolf wobbled over, stumbling back to its mother's side. The wolf mother lowered her head and gently licked its forehead. The movements were slow, as if comforting, yet also like blaming. But this was not the end. The wolf mother still has to take it across several kilometers of wilderness to rejoin the pack. Meanwhile, on the other side of the grassland, the wolf pack encounters their old rivals, a herd of bison. This battle of arch-enemies has continued since the Ice Age. The wolf pack targets a calf still nursing, attacking from different directions to create chaos. The herd of social cattle did not panic, but quickly formed a circular formation, protecting the weakest calves in the center. The wolf pack tried to break through the protective circle, but the social cattle were not complacent. Each adult social cow, they used their horns and bodies to form a fortress. It was a standoff of patience and wisdom. Seeing their ambush fail, the wolf pack intended to retreat, but at that moment, an old social cow was isolated. This time, the wolf pack seized the opportunity, taking turns to charge and gradually wear down its strength. When Arctic wolves hunt, they do not rely on a single fatal blow, but on exhaustion and cooperation. Several hours later, the elderly muskox finally collapsed from exhaustion. The wilderness returned to silence once more. At this moment, the wolf mother also arrived with the wolf cub that had been lost for many days, and the other cubs followed. Just as the pack had caught prey, no one mentioned the lost episode. The wolf pups gathered around the prey, gnawing on the fresh meat, while the wolf father watched them, his eyes filled with peace. He may not yet realize that he almost lost a child. The Arctic wilderness is never merciful, but in this cold wasteland, the unity of the wolf pack and the persistence of a mother's love uphold the hope for life's continuation. It shows us that the resilience of life exists not only in flesh and blood, but also in those invisible bonds, the call between mother and child, the watchfulness of the group. Perhaps it is these glimmers that teach us to revere nature and to bow, look up, and move forward in the face of destiny.